What's your favorite objection to handle? What do you do to prepare for an objection? My name is Willke, and I'm a sales, performance, and leadership coach with Southwestern Consulting. I created a series that talks about the whole cycle of sales based on the methodology of the 160-year-old company Southwestern. We talked a lot. We're coming to the end of the cycle. We started with pre-approach. We went into the approach. We then talked about how to introduce yourself, the most important part of the selling cycle. Then we went into presentation. If you do a good presentation, you are able to close. We talk about different types of closing, how important it is to close. But normally what happens is that people have questions after they close. Not everyone goes into the closing mode and buys your product or service directly. They actually have some questions and you need to be able to answer them. So how to do it? The number one thing for you to understand is that when people say no at the very beginning, it really does not mean that they really don't want it. Back in their head, what they're really saying is, please solve that problem. I want you to solve my problem. And if you solve my problem, then I might buy. This is why we have that, that's what I said last time, right? That it takes sometimes 2 to 3 times to answering an objection for them to buy, because people actually have some questions that they really truthfully want them to be answered before they actually can make the decision whether or not they want to buy your product or your service. So how do you normally do that, and what happens? The first thing that we cannot do when someone is answering an objection is to fence, is to attack directly, meaning, for example, my product is $200. Oh, that's too expensive. And the normal thing that people do is, well, so expensive, my competitor is only $100, it's $500, mine is only $200. Did you look at the product? You go into direct defensive mode. If you go into that mode, the chance for you to buy is 0. So it's not our job to fence and fight. It's our job to, at that point, to accommodate, be very relaxed, and then tell a story. That's the trick. We talk about someone that's in the same position and what they did in that same situation. Meaning, for example, let's look at an example. You say, well, I'm not sure that I can use it and I don't know what the use of it is for me right now. But you can answer like, oh my God, that's a very good question. And that just reminds me about my other client that I have, Joe, who had the same exact doubt. Would he use it or not? And actually, after he looked at the content and re-looked at the services and realized that this really is going to make a better life for him, he looked at me, it's like, it makes sense for me to have it because it's really going to solve my problem. You did not attack him directly. You told a story about a similar situation that someone else did and how they were able to solve it. That's a very soft way for you to answer the objection without putting your client into a very bad position of having to defend himself. The other thing that's also very important, is for you to cluster the objections. Put the objections into a closing room so that it does not affect and infect the rest of your presentation. Meaning, well, I don't know if I want to buy it because I don't really like that color. Your answer is, great. If I'm able to solve the color, is there anything else that would need to change for you to make a decision or to buy my product? Or, it's too expensive. Oh, okay. If we were able to work with the price, is there anything else that we would need to answer or to take care of before you are able and ready to buy my product? What we're just doing here is clustering the objections, making sure we're answering all of the beneath objections so that the person at that point has all of the information and can get from point A to point B. That's the importance of answering objections. We need to know how to do it. We need to be relaxed. This is not a fight. This is an actual real need of your client to understand your product better. And it gives you the chance to really dive into your products, the benefits of your products. And if you do it the right way, you get to the final close. We are on our the sixth step of the cycle of sales. So we went pre-approach, approach, introduction, presentation, closing, answering objection, which is a loop, right? You do the answering objections, you go back to the closing. Answer another objection, you go back to the closing. Once you're done, you should have a sale. And people stop at that moment. What we're going to cover next week is the final and most important step, which is referrals. If you liked and you did not subscribe to my channel, do it now. You're able to see all of my past videos, and hopefully to everybody here, I will see you next week where we are going to talk about my favorite subject and my favorite step in the cycle of sales, which is referrals.